Okay. This is going to be a demonstration to for creating the propaganda poster mind map. So, pretty much instructions are you'll come up with two major topics or movements that you want to create based off of your art theme, and then you kind of branch off into three different ideas from the topic, and then from each of your ideas, though, you'll come up with five symbolic images or ideas to illustrate the topics or movements. Okay, so pretty much with like the mind map though is I'll look up some examples of mind maps to show you, but uh, key concepts of like mind maps is you're just kind of starting with an idea in the middle, and then you're just kind of branching off out into different ideas. So this would be kind of our quick way of like researching on your topics or movements that you want to create a propaganda poster on. And I felt like this is really helpful with coming with ideas or concepts on things to draw and create for the art. Okay, so first thing you want to do is, or the first thing you want to think about is, kind of like what do you like truly kind of believe in, or and these could be different types of movements or topics. You can kind of pick and choose either or, but yeah, definitely, you want to pick and choose like a topic or a movement that you kind of strongly believe in or that you're pretty familiar with. Just because I want you guys to focus on creating art that is something that you want to make. It's something you're passionate about. That's real important to you. And Also, you want to be kind of a little bit familiar with like your topic. Okay, so so let me just do an example for y'all just to show you guys how the mind map will look. Okay, and definitely you can use the Google Slides as a starting point. If you're not too sure, I just have like a list of these different movements, themes you guys could do, and then there's some art examples down here you can take a look at. So, okay, so mind map. All right. Okay, so first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna just do two circles, kind of in the middle, but also apart from each other. So you're gonna do two different ones for your work for today. Like I'm gonna kind of zoom in on this one right here. So for this particular one, I will do. Let me see, and I use like the examples in the Google Slides. So see which one we can do. Okay, why don't I do like labor movement? So workers' rights and protections. Okay, so I'm just trying to pick like a topic that some of you guys probably won't pick. So this one's for like people that are working in like long term careers. So okay, so we're just gonna do workers' right rights and protection. Okay, so you can just basically kind of choose a topic in that list, or if you have your own topics too, you can do that as well. But I would just do a little simple Google search on what that is. So I'm gonna just do a Google search on workers' rights and protections. So you do a little Google search. Now you want to actually look at some of the text. So Google has this, pretty easy way of like having like an AI overview. So it kind of gives you like an idea of like topics and things to think about to draw for your artwork. So I think this is like a really good, at least like starting point with like things to research on. So where workers' rights protections, kind of like some of the big things are, establishing like a safe workplace in the job you're in, fair pay and working hours, anti discrimination and harassment, leave and time off, rights to organize, protection from retaliation. So these are the kind of the big things in terms of workers' rights and protection. So Again, we're going to be branching off into three ideas. So, you're going to do one line here, one line there, one line here. You can do it in any direction that you want, but we're going to do like other circles here. So, this is like, beginning to kind of create like almost like a web for your mind map. All right. So, maybe for like this one right here, I'll kind of zoom in a little closer so you guys see what I'm reading. So, if you wanted to, you could just simply list what these things are. So, I mean, maybe one thing I could illustrate is like, fair pay and working hours. So, that's kind of a, big thing with worker rights is, just fair pay and, and hours. That could be one. Another one could be, safe workplace. That's more for like if you're doing construction or anything that's like kind of dangerous. So, so when you're writing these topics down, think about things that you might want to do that could be, interesting. I'm not really too interested in like extraneous labor or like construction. I'm like a teacher, so my workplace is pretty safe. So, you want to kind of think about, don't just like kind of list the topics, but kind of think of like ones that you actually want to draw. um I feel like rights to organize is real important. So, this is like, having like unions or having like protection from other things. So, um rights to organize. Okay. And then, I'll just write one more on here. So, worker rights and protection. And if you know a little bit about worker rights and protection, you can always just kind of make up your own topic for that one. So, for example, fair pay and hours, rights to organize. The other one too is just legal protections. So I think legal protections is real important. That's like, if like a teacher does something wrong, what kind of rights do they have as a teacher to protect themselves? All right, so now from here though, I want you to come up with at least like 5 different things you can draw for those specific topics. Okay, so I know 5 seems like a lot though, because in total you'll have about 15 for each of them. But it's not gonna really be like much that you have to do. So for example, if we do like fair pay and hours, um, if you want to just Google search like fair pay and hours, worker rights protection, or I just say workers fair pay. Oops, I mean type that word. Fair fair pay and hours. You can just do a Google search. If you want to just do like an image search, that's fine too. You don't have to like look it up, but um, it kind of talks about fair wages for all. We see like obviously money. There's also some relationship with like balance. We got balance, time. So there's a lot of interesting images that we can kind of work with, in terms of things we can draw. So, and then I'll kind of zoom in here, but fair pay is, we can put money for one thing, put time for another. So if you're not really sure what you want to draw, you can just list things, like symbolic images, you can draw for that. So like, time, maybe you can do like a little clock or something. Money, that could be, you know, something with dollars. So if you want, you could do like little doodles and drawings. That's okay too. But once you've kind of like got an idea of like images you might want to draw, maybe you can think about ideas that you can draw. So in terms of like money, time, fair pay and hours. So maybe one of your ideas could be based off of like men equal equal women. So maybe you're like a woman and you want to have the same pay as men. So same pay, because it's crazy how there are some jobs where men are paid more than women and it's essentially like the same job. So that could be like one concept or idea you can do is um, you know um, men and women have equal pay. Maybe like another idea could be the some jobs like overtime pay. So I'll put like a question mark here. So some jobs they obviously pay you overtime though, but then like you have some bosses that are like, oh, why'd you work so many hours late? We can't have you do that. I mean, obviously you can get paid for it, but then like they, I don't know, they might like fire you because like you have too much overtime for yourself, something crazy like that. So, they're really like companies are like really big on like not wanting to pay overtime though because it's like a little bit more extra money, that kind of thing. So, okay, but you're just gonna start to write down some things you can draw or even like concepts or ideas, and if you see any like messages that are used, so like fair wages for all, you can even write that down too, because that could be really helpful. Is the at least start to think about like words and texts to add in your images. Fair wages for all. Okay, but basically you're going to start to list these things, but obviously like if you're really familiar with the topic, you can probably just go right into just writing these words and what they are. But I just strongly suggest just doing some simple Google searches like I did. First starting off with like the topic itself, so you can kind of come up with ideas. And then once you kind of narrow down the topics, you can just look up images. Just write down what images you can find that will help you to demonstrate the ideas of things you want to draw. Oops. All right. Okay, I think that's it for my demonstration. I don't know what happened to my camera. It's like over here, but I can't get it. Okay, but that's how you want to go about with thinking about your um, your mind map. And then I want you to do a second one though, just so you have two different ideas. Because maybe one idea, maybe your first idea, maybe an okay idea, but um, you want to have some different ideas of things you could draw. But ultimately though, we'll kind of focus on one idea to do a drawing, illustration, propaganda poster on one of your topics.